Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Rainbow Library is pleased to have you with us tonight as we continue our series celebrating Native American myths and legends. Tonight, our focus will be the book by Richard Erdoes and Alfonso Ortiz, entitled American Indian Myths and Legends. We will read a couple of short stories from here, and we will have a discussion after the reading. We begin tonight with a creation myth that comes from the White River Sioux tribe. This is a story of Rabbit Boy, and sometimes it is called the story of Blood Clot Man. As you know, we Indians think of the earth and the whole universe as a never-ending circle, and in this circle, man is just another animal. The buffalo and the coyote are our brothers, the birds are cousins, even the tiniest ant, even a louse, even the smallest flower you can find, they are all relatives. We end our prayers with the words, Mitukuye Oyasin, all my relations, and that includes everything that grows, crawls, runs, creeps, hops, and flies on this continent. White people see man as nature's master and conqueror, but Indians who are close to nature know better. Jenny Leading Cloud. And now the story. In the old days before Columbus discovered us, as they say, we were even closer to the animals than we are now. Many people could understand the animal languages. They could talk to a bird, gossip with a butterfly. Animals could change themselves into people, and people into animals. It was a time when the earth was not quite finished, when many kinds of mountains and streams, animals and plants came into being according to nature's plan. In these far-gone days, hidden from us as in a mist, there lived a rabbit, a very lively, playful, good-hearted rabbit. One day this rabbit was walking, enjoying himself, when he came across a clot of blood. How it got there nobody knows. It looked like a blister, a little bladder full of red liquid. Well, the playful rabbit began toying with that clot of blood, kicking it around as if it were a tiny ball. Now we Indians believe in Takuskan, the mysterious power of motion. Its spirit is in anything that moves. It animates things and makes them come alive. Well, the rabbit got into this strange moving power without even knowing it, and the motion of being kicked around, or rather, the spirit of the motion, and I hope you can grasp what I mean by that, began to work on the little blob of blood so that it took shape, forming a little gut. The rabbit kicked it some more, and the blob began to grow tiny hands and arms. The rabbit kept nudging it, and suddenly it had eyes and a beating heart. And this way, the rabbit, with the help of the mysterious moving power, formed a human being, a little boy. The rabbit called him Wiota Wikasa, Much Blood Boy, but he is better known as Rabbit Boy. The rabbit took him to his wife, and both of them loved this strange little boy as if he were their only son. They dressed him up in a beautiful buckskin shirt, which they painted with the sacred red color and decorated with designs made of porcupine quills. The boy grew up happily among the rabbits. When he was almost a man, the old rabbit took him aside and said, "Son, I must tell you that you are not what you think you are, a rabbit like me. You are human. We love you, and we hate to let you go, but you must leave and find your own people." Rabbit Boy started walking until he came to a village of human beings, where he saw boys who looked like himself. He went into the village. The people could not help staring at this strange boy in his beautiful buckskin clothes. "Where are you from?" they asked him. "I am from another village," said the Rabbit Boy, though this was not true. There was no other village in the whole world, for as I told you, the earth was still in its beginning. In the village was a beautiful girl who fell in love with Rabbit Boy, not only for his fine clothes, but also for his good looks and kind heart. Her people too wanted him to marry into the village, wanted a man with his great mystery power to live among them. And Rabbit Boy had a vision. In it he was wrestling with the sun, racing the sun, playing hand games with the sun, and always winning. But Iktum, the wicked Spider-Man, the mean trickster, prankster, and witch doctor, wanted that beautiful girl for himself. He began to say bad things about Rabbit Boy. "Look at him," Iktum said, "showing off his buckskin outfit to us who are too poor to have such fine things." And to the men he also said, "How come you're letting him marry a girl from your village?" He also told them, "In case you want me to, I have a magic hoop to throw over that Rabbit Boy. It will make him helpless." Several boys said, "Iktum is right." They were jealous of Rabbit Boy on account of his strange power, his wisdom, and generosity. They began to fight him, and Spider-Man threw his magic hoop over him. Though it had no effect on Rabbit Boy, he pretended to be helpless to amuse himself. The village boys and young men tied Rabbit Boy to a tree with rawhide thongs. All the time the evil Spider-Man was encouraging them. "Let's take our butchering knives and cut him up." "Friends, cola pila," said the Rabbit Boy. "If you are going to kill me, let me sing my death song first." And he sang, "Friends, friends, I have fought the sun. He tried to burn me up, but he could not do it. Even battling the sun, I held my own." After the death song, the villagers killed Rabbit Boy and cut him up into chunks of meat, which they put into a soup pot. But Rabbit Boy was not hurt easily. A storm arose, and a great cloud hid the face of the sun, turning everything into black night. When the cloud was gone, the chunks of meat had disappeared without a trace. But those who had watched closely had seen the chunks forming up again into a body, and had seen him going up to heaven on a beam of sunlight. A wise old medicine man said, "This Rabbit Boy really has a powerful medicine. He has gone up to see the sun. Soon he will come back stronger than before, because up there he will be given the sun's power. Let's marry him to that girl of ours." But the jealous spider said, "Why bother about him? Look at me. I am much more powerful than Rabbit Boy. Here, tie me up too. Cut me up. Be quick." Spider-Man thought he remembered Rabbit Boy's song. He thought there was power in it, magic strength. But he did not remember the words correctly. He sang, "Friends, friends, I have fought the moon. She tried to fight, but I won. Even battling the moon, I came out on top." They cut Iktum up, as he had told them, but he never came to life again. The spider had finally outsmarted himself. Evil tricksters always do. This story was told to Jenny Leading Cloud in White River Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota in 1967. Now, we will go on to another story. If you'll just give me a moment, let me find the page. Okay. Our next selection is an Okanogan tribe story, and this describes the creation of the animal people. The earth was once a human being. Old One made her out of a woman. "You will be the mother of all people," he said. "Earth is alive yet, but she has been changed. The soil is her flesh, the rocks are her bones, the wind is her breath, trees and grass are her hair. She lives spread out, and we live on her. When she moves, we have an earthquake." After taking the woman and changing her to earth, Old One gathered some of her flesh and rolled it into balls, as people do with mud or clay. He made the first group of these balls into the ancients, the beings of the early world. The ancients were people, yet also animals. In form, some looked human, while some walked on all fours like animals. Some could fly like birds, others could swim like fishes. All had the gift of speech, all as greater powers and cunning than either animals or people. But deer were never among the ancients. They were always animals, even as they are today. Besides the ancients, real people and real animals lived on the earth at that time. Old One made them out of the last balls of mud he took from the earth. He rolled them over and over, shaped them like Indians, and blew on them to bring them alive. They were so ignorant that they were the most helpless of all creatures the Old One had made. Old One made people and animals into males and females so they might breed and multiply. Thus all living things came from the earth. When we look around, we see part of our mother everywhere. Old One The difficulty with the early world was that part of the ancients were selfish and some were monsters, and there was much trouble among them. They were also very stupid in some ways. Though they knew they had to hunt in order to live, they did not know which creatures were deer and which were people, and sometimes they ate people by mistake. At last, Old One said, "There will soon be no people if I let things go on like this." So he sent Coyote to kill all the monsters and other evil beings among the ancients and teach the Indians how to do things. And Coyote began to travel the earth, teaching Indians, making life easier and better for them, and performing many wonderful deeds. That story was as reported by Ella Clark in the 1950s. And we'll move on to another selection. Just give me a moment. On to our next selection, which is a Flathead tribe tale. This one is called Coyote Kills the Giant. Coyote was walking one day when he met Old Woman. She greeted him and asked where he was headed. "Just roaming around," said Coyote. "You better stop going that way or you'll meet a giant who kills everybody." "Oh, giants don't frighten me," said Coyote, who had never met one. "I always kill them. I'll fight this one too and make an end of him." "He's bigger and closer than you think," said Old Woman. "I don't care," said Coyote, deciding that a giant would be about as big as a bull moose and calculating that he would kill one easily. So Coyote said goodbye to Old Woman and went ahead, whistling a tune. On his way he saw a large fallen branch that looked like a club. Picking it up, he said to himself, "I'll hit the giant over the head with this. It's big enough and heavy enough to kill him." He walked on and came to a huge cave right in the middle of the path. Whistling merrily, he went in. Suddenly Coyote met a woman who was crawling along on the ground. "What's the matter?" he asked. "I'm starving," she said, "and too weak to walk." "What are you doing with that stick?" "I'm going to kill the giant with it," said Coyote, and he asked if she knew where he was hiding. Feeble as she was, the woman laughed. "You're already in the giant's belly." "How can I be in his belly?" said Coyote. "I haven't even met him." "You probably thought it was a cave when you walked into his mouth," the woman said and sighed. "It's easy to walk in, but nobody ever walks out. The giant is so big you can't take him in with your eyes. His belly fills a whole valley." Coyote threw his stick away and kept on walking. What else could he do? Soon he came across some more people lying around half dead. "Are you sick?" he asked. "No," they said, "just starving to death. We're trapped inside the giant." "You're foolish," said Coyote. "If we're really inside this giant, then the cave walls must be the inside of his stomach. We can just cut some meat and fat from him." "We never thought of that," they said. "You're not as smart as I am," said Coyote. Coyote took his hunting knife and started cutting chunks out of the cave walls. As he had guessed, they were indeed the giant's fat and meat, and he used it to feed the starving people. He even went back and gave some meat to the woman he had first met. Then all the people imprisoned in the giant's belly started to feel stronger and happier, but not completely happy. "You fed us," they said, "and thanks. But how are we going to get out of here?" "Don't worry," said Coyote. "I'll kill the giant by stabbing him in the heart." "Where is his heart?" "It must be around here someplace." "Look at the volcano puffing and beating over there," someone said. "Maybe it's the heart." "So it is, my friend," said Coyote, and began to cut at this mountain. Then the giant spoke up. "Is that you, Coyote? I've heard of you. Stop this stabbing and cutting and leave me alone." "You can leave through my mouth. I'll open it for you." "I'll leave, but not quite yet," said Coyote, hacking at the heart. He told the others to get ready. "As soon as I have him in his death throes, there will be an earthquake. He'll open his jaw to take a last breath, and then his mouth will be closed forever. So be ready to run out fast." Coyote cut a deep hole in the giant's heart, and lava started to flow out. It was the giant's blood. The giant groaned, and the ground underneath the people's feet trembled. "Quick now," shouted Coyote. The giant's mouth opened, and they all ran out. The last one was the wood tick. The giant's teeth were closing on him, but Coyote managed to pull him through at the last moment. "Look at me," cried the wood tick. "I'm all flat." "It happened when I pulled you through," said Coyote. "You'll always be flat from now on. Be glad you're alive." "I guess I'll get used to it," said the wood tick, and he did. That selection was based on a tale reported by Louisa McDermott in 1901. And we'll go to another story. Just a moment. All right. Now this story is representative of the idea of counting coup, which is in regards to war in the warrior code with Native Americans. As the authors describe in the introduction to this section in the book, war for many Indians was an exciting and dangerous sport. In a way, it resembled a medieval tournament governed by strict rules of conduct. The battlefield became an arena for an intensely personal competition of honor in which a young man might make a name for himself and earn the eagle feathers which symbolized adulthood. One could be killed in this game, but killing enemies was not the reason why men went to war. Total war resulting in the extinction of a tribe was almost unknown and generally abhorred. The main object of any battle, and the only way to gain honors, was to count coup, to reckon one's brave deeds. Killing a man from an ambush with a gun was no coup because it was easy. Even a coward could do it. But riding up on an unwounded and fully armed enemy and touching him with the hand of one's coup stick was a great feat. Stealing horses was also a fine coup. Coups had to be witnessed in order to be recognized, though in a few tribes a man could swear upon the pipe or some other sacred object that what he said was true. Now, for our final reading of the night, I will read to you an Oneida tribe story called The Warrior Maiden. Long ago, in the days before the white man came to this continent, the Oneida people were beset by their old enemies, the Mingos. The invaders attacked the Oneida villages, stormed their palisades, set fire to their longhouses, laid waste to the land, destroyed the cornfields, killing men and boys, and abducted women and girls. There was no resisting the Mingos because their numbers were like grains of sand, like pebbles on a lake shore. The villages of the Oneida lay deserted, their fields untended, the ruins of their homes blackened. The men had taken the women, the old people, the young boys and girls, into the deep forests, hiding them in secret places among rocks, in caves, and on desolate mountains. The Mingos searched for victims, but could not find them. The Great Spirit himself helped the people hide and shield their places of refuge from the eyes of their enemies. Thus the Oneida people were safe in their inaccessible retreats, but they were also starving. Whatever food they had been able to save was soon eaten up. They could either stay in their hideouts and starve, or leave them in search of food and be discovered by their enemies. The warrior chiefs and sachems met in council, but could find no other way out. Then a young girl stepped forward in the council and said that the good spirits had sent her a dream showing her how to save the Oneida. Her name was Aliquipso, and she was not afraid to give her life for her people. She told the council, "We are hiding on top of a high, sheer cliff. Above us the mountain is covered with boulders and heavy, sharp rocks. You warriors wait and watch here. I will go to the Mingos and lead them to the spot at the foot of the cliff where they can all be crushed and destroyed." The chiefs, sachems, and warriors listened to the girl with wonder. The oldest of the sachems honored her, putting around her neck strands of white and purple wampum. "The Great Spirit has blessed you with courage and wisdom," he said. "We, your people, will always remember you." During the night, the girl went down from the heights and into the forest below by a secret path. In the morning, the Mingo scouts found her wandering through the woods as though she were lost. They took her to the burned and abandoned village where she had once lived, for this was now their camp. They brought her before their warrior chief. "Show us the way to the place where your people are hiding," he commanded. "If you do this, we shall adopt you into our tribe. Then you will belong to the victors. If you refuse, you will be tortured at the stake." "I will not show you the way," answered Aliquipso. The Mingos tied her to a blackened tree stump and tortured her with fire, as was their custom. Even the wild Mingos were astonished at the courage with which the girl endured it. At last, Aliquipso pretended to weaken under the pain. "Don't hurt me any more," she cried. "I'll show you the way." As night came in, the Mingos bound Aliquipso's hands behind her back and pushed her ahead of them. "Don't try to betray us," they warned. "At any sign of it, we'll kill you." Flanked by two warriors with weapons poised, Aliquipso led the way. Soundlessly, the mass of Mingo warriors crept behind her through the thickets and rough places, over winding paths and deer trails, until at last they arrived beneath the towering cliff of sheared granite. "Come closer, Mingo warriors," she said in a low voice. "I'll show you the secret passage that leads upwards." The Mingos crowded together in a dense mass, with the girl in the center. Then Aliquipso uttered a piercing cry. "Oneidas! The enemies are here! Destroy them!" The Mingos scarcely had time to strike her down before huge boulders and rocks rained upon them. There was no escape. It seemed as if the angry mountain itself were falling on them, crushing them, burying them. So many Mingo warriors died that the other bands of Mingo invaders stopped pillaging the Oneida country and retired to their own hunting grounds. They never again made war on Aliquipso's people. The story of the girl's courage and self-sacrifice was told and retold whenever the Oneidas sat around their campfires, and will be handed down from grandparent to grandchild as long as there are Oneidas on this earth. The great mystery changed Aliquipso's hair into woodbine, which the Oneidas call running hairs, and which is good medicine. From her body sprang honeysuckle, which to this day is known among her people as the blood of the brave women. That was based on the version told by W. W. Canfield in 1902. like to thank you so much for listening to these stories. Again, the book featured is American Indian Myths and Legends, selected and edited by Richard Erdoes and Alfonso Ortiz.